So as a simple illustration of how we try to use the apps and utilities in Staff DX to resolve real issues that surgical center administrators face, every day, we have an app called Shift Cover, and this is for resolution of the proverbial call off, which puts an administrator or CEO in the position of having or clinical manager to have to make a number of phone calls to try to reach people that maybe are not currently on the schedule that can come in and take the shift. So what Shift Cover does, and that's just not a good use of the manager's time, it also increases the premium pay. So if I'm staffing that with overtime instead of someone who may not be in overtime status, it drives the premium expense up for the center. What Shift Cover does is it is a communication tool that sends out communication via text and email. And within those communications, you can respond as a recipient of it, whether you want to accept or decline the shift need. So in this case, when a call off occurs, I just find out what shift that they're going to work and what day, and I select that individual from the drop downs. So it takes just a couple seconds to create a templated message that's going to go out that you'll see here in a second. And within the email or the communication, it has an accept and decline link, as well as the demographics around the shift need. I have the ability to add notes in that will go out in the email as well as the text. And then I simply hit send. What Staff DX is doing right now is it's evaluating the current schedule and identifying all staff that are credentialed as a staff RN within Staff DX. And of those credentials that a staff RN, which ones are not currently on the schedule. So it created this list for me, and I will show you the email that I just received right here. So I'm just going to kind of tuck this over to the side for a little bit. But you can see that I have a list of the employees as well as their status. Are they benefited, PRN, part-time, full-time, their target hours for the pay period. This is all current pay period information. So in this case, Bella Blake is a 0.9 FTE. So her target hours are to work 72 hours in a pay period. She's only scheduled for 3, but she's worked 38 and has no overtime. If the individual is in jeopardy of going into overtime status, it will be highlighted in red. Please don't try to decipher or interpret the numbers here. This is just demo data. It has their contact information to follow up with them if need be, as well as the status of their acceptance, whether they accepted, rejected, or there was no response. So you can see from here, I have the email that was sent, and I can click on accept. Now, the system is going to give me an acknowledgement that I successfully accepted the shift. It does not mean that the shift has been assigned to me. This grid is going to refresh every 3 to 5 seconds. And you've already seen it a few times where I get a gray box over it and I can't do anything for just a second or two. Okay, so it's updating now and we'll see who has accepted. So Bella Blake has accepted. She's not in jeopardy of going into overtime, so she's a perfect candidate to receive the shift. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to her. So what this does is it takes Bella and it replaces Abigail Abraham, the individual that called off, on the schedule. And it puts Bella Blake on the schedule. Now, the only thing left to do, you can see your assignment status change, is to notify Bella and others that Bella was assigned the shift. So when I click on assignment email, it will send another communication out via email and text, notifying them that Bella was assigned the shift, or if they were not assigned a shift, it will let them know that they were not assigned and there is no further action required. Now I'd like to show you 2 utilities that work in collaboration. The first is the procedural staffing grid, and then the second is the scheduler. If I open up the procedural staffing grid, I'm going to explain what it does. So the procedural staffing grid gives you a location to identify how you staff by case by physician. So you can see here and add the other indirect hours in your department as well as salaried. So you can see I have 3 sections here. Direct care hours. So these will be the staff that are assigned to the cases by procedure by physician. And then indirect salaried, obviously just your salaried employees. And then your indirect hourly, where I can assign, those resources or employees that don't directly contribute to the actual surgery, but kind of work on the outside and work in a shift pattern, where I can go in here and add by role, by shift, how many resources I'd like. This is not where you will assign people's names. So the staffing grid provides a location for the leader to sign a staffing plan, which is created once per year after the fiscal budget's created. Users will enter staffing needs by case type and is flexible to be physician specific, as not all physicians want the same commitment of resources or they work in teams. Each case type by physician has a recorded average case duration. This is used to calculate the productivity by physician by case. And so I could simply go in here and I can add a new record, identify the role, and select how many I need in that case. Well, again, not assigning by name. So essentially the staffing grid is the plan for care delivery by case by physician. The scheduling system, the scheduler is a web accessible staff scheduling tool for assigning team members at the OR suite level by day of week. Now opens up to a calendar view, and every day I can click on my productivity index number here. It will open up the daily specifics, and I've got a couple sections here. So at the top right, you'll see I have the procedure timeline. This is imported from your HST solution. And if you hover over each case for the day by suite, it'll tell you the start and end time, the name of the procedure, and the physician name. It does not provide any patient information, therefore making it not a HIPAA concern. We do not pull in any HIPAA data from HST. On this left side, the procedure room summary, this is a summary. These are summary statistics for all locations. So it looks a little numbery, but I'll break each section down. It's really not complex. First is the target staffing grid. So as we import the HST surgery schedule, it pivots off of the name of that procedure and the physician name, and it references what you identified for staffing needs by case in the procedure in the staffing grid, and it just sums that up. So for what's presented here for all suites, my target productive hours would be 44 hours. Now, this is not a full surgery schedule here, obviously. Then you're able to contrast it in the next section, which is actual schedule. So it shows by role and the salaried hours, what's your total complement of hours scheduled. Now understand, this target productive hours in the staffing grid is not what the budget affords you. It's just your plan to deliver care. So I'm scheduled to 60 hours. So at the bottom, we actually present you what your targets are based on caseload or scheduled hours. So this target hours over 101 is the sum of the hours to be budget neutral, to be right on your financial plan as defined in your budget, based on the caseload or based on the caseload in the surgery schedule. Target stats is your, in this case, I believe we're presenting OR minutes as the workload. You need 258 OR minutes to support the 60 total scheduled hours and be budget neutral. And so when I compare the 60 to the target hours, I have a favorable variance of 41 hours here. Again, this is not completely filled out. And then the bottom right section is the resources. So I can look at schedule resources by name, by suite. And as I select a suite and I expand the shift, you'll see I'll get some demographics around the shift. If I go to schedule resources, then I can schedule resources here. Just click on the plus sign and it'll bring up the employees. It'll also tell me for everybody, all the charge nurses, which this is a lot of charge nurses, it tells me what the current demographics are in the current pay period. So their target hours based on their hired in value. Are they a 0.9, a 0.8, a 1.0? how much they're scheduled for, and then how much scheduled overtime. So this really gives you some insight into balancing your staff to work their full hired in FTE value and marginalizing your premium pay by reducing overtime. Now I'd like to illustrate for you our comprehensive analytics and dashboard reporting. This is housed in the executive leader section. And when we open it up, I'd like you to note that we have 3 different tabs here: the division view, the administrative, and pay period. So the division view is just where you look at a number of surgical centers across, say, a regional footprint or a division. The administrative view is for looking at different time periods, looking at actual performance. You know, it's select by pay period. And it paints a total productivity picture as productivity relates to cost per case, et cetera. And then the pay period trend is really for the site-specific view. If I go to the one that is available here for the department leader or for the surgery center administrator, you can simply select a period, pay period. And it shows the 14-day pay period trend. Interesting enough about this is that you'll see that, I'll just talk about the construction first. We have an hours column and a stat column. This is workload, and I believe this is looking at OR hours here, probably for pre-op. And so prior to the day in the pay period, if it is say Friday, January 8th, and we haven't moved into Saturday yet, the Saturday value will be pre-populated from the hours that are scheduled in the scheduling tool and the workload from the HST surgery schedule. And it does all of the analytics itself, and it tells you what you, at the end of this, what's most important is the daily variance, and then cumulatively through the pay period. So obviously the game here is that by the end of the pay period, I want to be at 0 or slightly negative just to be budget neutral. And but this ensures that I stay on track of my plan to deliver care and run the OR suites and still be a good fiscal steward. If I go back to the splash page, the landing page, and I click on dashboard, I want to highlight something for you on this pay period trend, in that we have the capacity and ability to send customized productivity reports either on a biweekly basis, or you can receive them by email directly to your smart device. And again, we can custom fit this to the metrics that are important to the operations manager, the administrator, and the staff. But this can come at whatever frequency you'd like, and we can leverage any kind of visual management, graphs, barometers, thermometers, whatever the case is. So you're always aware. You don't have to log into StaffDX to understand what your current performance is in the pay period. Lastly, what I'd like to highlight is the staff applications here. And what we tried to do at StaffDX is just create automated workflows that simplify the processes, for routine processes that the staff are involved with, as in requesting PTO, viewing their schedule, and the sign-up wizard. So when the scheduling tool, I said that the leader can assign staff to the schedule by shift, by OR suite, by day. However, it's not that cumbersome for the leader, as we have the ability, if this is the desire of the center, we have the ability for employees to sign up themselves simply by going into sign up wizard. And they can, on the left here, it shows the available shifts. On the right, it shows the shifts that they're signed up for. And I can just click from one to move it to the other. And the summary here shows how many hours I work for the pay in the pay period. I go back home, you know, if I want to look at my schedule, you can export this, you can print it out. I can even export through iCal feature to the work calendaring system in your email, so that you always see the shifts that you're working on your smart device as well. Lastly, for requesting PTO, it's a simple workflow that feeds PTO queue in the department leaders window. And I can create a simple PTO request, select from what day to what day I would like to take PTO, assign the number of hours per day that I would like to take, and then add the request, at which point it will immediately enter into the PTO queue residing with the